So are you recording on your end then?
I am. I think I got all the bees shook out of this can of Schlitz, and I'm ready to go.
That is
You mean
amazing.
stomped out?
Stomped out. That's right. Well, I mean, bees are traditionally drawn to Schlitz.
Mm-hmm.
When you got bees in the can, you just got to stomp it flat.
Well, and welcome to Pod Against Evil, episode 8. Oh my goodness, guys. It is fantastic, and what an epic finale it is, and what an epic set of events that has led us to this point. For those of you following on along on the episodes, sorry that this one is late, but we had to re-record it a little bit and actually do some own time hopping of our own. But it's all right, because that means we not only get to have, of course, me, Nick, the Merc with a mic on, but also Travis.
Hi.
God of the Pod himself, and of course our special guest for this finale episode, Les Weiler.
It's me!
Les, welcome back to the show.
Yeah. Hey.
We have missed you. We have missed you almost as much as Drinkwater has missed a past lover of his that he's now stalks.
Another kid, that's your game.
Oh.
Drinkwater. Yeah.
He starts this episode off so strong.
Man, we will talk about that in a minute. But, of course, just want to mention, guys, at the top of the episode, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been an absolute blast doing this show, and we are happy to be done with Season 1 and going into Season 2. Want to mention right off the bat as well, Stan Against Evil, the fan accounts on Twitter and Facebook. That's Stan Against Evil fans on both Facebook and Twitter. They do some fun stuff like trivia and just some interactive stuff over the weekends and stuff. So if you're a fan of the show and you're a fan of the podcast, maybe go give those guys a look, because they are some nice people over there, and just share the love for Stand Against Evil. If listen to this podcast just isn't enough for you, which I won't feel I will feel a little bit ashamed a little bit, but that's okay. You don't have to take my feelings into consideration on that one.
We rarely do.
Yeah, I find myself unsatisfied, but
Also, we have some exciting stuff planned for the podcast in the near future, which would be pretty cool. Maybe even a giveaway or two concerning some prizes, some signed paraphernalia. Maybe we will have to see, because I don't quite have it in the line just quite yet, but it is coming. So be ready, on the lookout for that. Watch your Twitter and your social media and your Facebook and all that good stuff, and follow us on all those things there for not only that, but just to say hi to us. I believe I've crossed off all the dots there, and the T's and whatnot. So Les, I did want to have you on for this episode specifically, because those of you who don't know Les from his time over at the TV Dudes, he's kind of known as the time travel guy, I guess. Like, it wouldn't be unfair to say that you're kind of a time travel TV show sort of expert, right, Les?
Well, I wasn't always known as a time travel guy. I was actually never known as that. And then there was one wild weekend. It's a long story. And then suddenly, as far as anyone can remember, I was always the time travel guy.
So you're saying you went back in time to kill your past self in order to become the time travel?
I can't say that. Because
so in this timeline, you are known as the TV guy.
Yes.
But say if we went to the Back to the Future 2 universe, like, it was just you never were born, and then you weren't the TV guy, and then
Yes.
And then Biff becomes governor and whatnot, and it's just a whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, ever since that weasel got into the Hadron Collider, I've been the time travel guy. So.
No, okay, I got you. So how are you with time loops? Are they like the same as time travel? Would you lump them into a time travel type trope?
Is it a subcategory? How does this work?
I mean, I think it's like you have a cold or something versus like you have scarlet fever. Like time loops or time travel. I don't know. All of these squares are rectangles, but not all of these rectangles are squares. Like, I feel like time loops are definitely time travel, but I don't know that they qualify fully into the adults table at the event.
They're just kind of the annoying child of the group.
Yeah.
I love
like
that.
Sometimes you've got a camera across the street that takes a photo of yesterday. Sometimes you've got these things happen, but it's not like you went back to year one and stepped on a butterfly and now everybody has like lizards for tongues.
Right.
Well, okay. I love that explanation, and it's a very Doctor Whovian in that I couldn't quite follow it, but I got just enough to where
It's
I'm
a lot of words. The leaf is my heart, and love saved everything. Nick, just roll with it.
So this is a little bit inside baseball for you guys for this episode, but this is very prescient because we had to re-record this episode, because
You had to re-record
not
this
only
episode.
did like we recorded these a while back, so they aren't actually all in order. We didn't record them all in the same order. That's the magic of editing. In the first place, and then we had a switch over between computers and data, so somewhere along the line, Les's audio from the previous one got cut, and then I was like, oh, that's okay, I have my backup Skype recorder, which records all my Skype calls, and then for some reason, this was like one of the Skype calls that just didn't record.
It was just destiny to
Like I have
to redo this
a
episode.
shit ton of other Skype calls of other people that I wasn't even supposed to record that I now have blackmail on, but I don't have this one. Like it's ridiculous. Also, I'm gonna edit that out real quick. I wasn't supposed to mention that on here. It's okay, Grant. You're fine. That's right. Grant wasn't even on this show yet. That's a later episode. Dang it! Now I don't even know what's in the continuity anymore, and I'm confused. It's good thing that we're doing the time travel time loop episode. You know what? We can just go back. Here, just shoot me in the face, and we'll just restart over again.
Yay! Thought you never
Wow,
asked.
where'd you get that gun?
No, haha.
Why are you so ready and willing to shoot me?
Nick, I've had this in the couch since episode 1.
Yes, it's because of time loops.
Yes.
That's why we're willing
is-
to shoot you.
That's exactly
That's
the
why.
reason why.
Because death is basically meaningless. It's like a video game. It's whatever.
Like,
But
like that Rick and Morty. It's a good thing you saw the note on the gun.
yep,
Yes. that.
totally, yeah. You betcha, Rick. oh man, I really.
That's a damn fine Morty, sir. That's really good, man.
Thanks, Les. I've been really working on it. It's kind of a proud thing of mine.
Oh man, that's fucking crazy stuff. Like that. Oh, that's
Oh man,
great.
Rick, we're now in the Willard's Mill place. I don't know. Things are a little scary. This guy, he's kind of old. He reminds me of the guy from Scrubs, but he's kind of like you, but you know, like maybe not as mean. That's saying something. Get out of here, Morty. God, Jesus!
That's great,
since
man.
that Morty lost his Rick, he's been just hanging around this whole timeline. We really need to find the other warp gun and just get him the fuck out of here. But anyway, what are we actually? Oh, that's right. I wanted to mention this too. Is that we were having, of course, audio troubles, guys. It seems like this podcast is cursed. If I were to have, because this episode just didn't want to get recorded for whatever reason. I'm not sure if we pissed off a sheriff in an old town or whatnot, but
It's Schrodinger's podcast, that's all.
we had audio difficulties before this call, and I just want to read a couple of Les's tweets if he'll, or Les's texts if he'll let me. Because as soon as we had audio trouble, Les texts me, "Why won't you take my calls, Nick? I love you. Why won't you answer me?" And the me is actually a me, we. I've stolen your cat because love. And these are all in caps, so this is very concerning. And then there's something about stop blaming technology, and then there's a whole thing of like, I need to get groceries, but the caps key is stuck, so it looks like I dictated my list by screaming at the phone. Okay, there we go. So that, I feel like, if anything, re-recording this episode like twice and having audio issues, that was totally worth it. That was amazing. So with all this rigmarole out of the way, I think we're ready to finally just get into the episode. So we start this one off with a car crash.
It's quite a car crash, too.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you what. I've seen a lot of car crashes on TVs and movies, and this is one of the more spectacular ones in the fact that I don't know how you flip a car over almost nothing.
I mean, she hit a
Oh,
tree,
yeah.
and somehow the tree turned the whole car over.
It's
Something about a combo of like a ditch and maybe a low stump or something, but
Yeah.
it flips that station wagon. I mean, really turns it.
well, I mean, at that point to flip it like that, that's just you were going at an irresponsible speed. I feel like you've had to have been speeding. Although later
Right.
it'll show that they weren't speeding. So
No, they were going to ridiculous. Like it seems like a '50s driver's ed video of like even at 5 miles an hour, kids.
So we see Evie get out of the car, all bloodied and fucked up, and we see her confront a young woman in a white dress, and she pulls her gun, points it at the young girl, and is like,
Look, I'm sorry about this, but you understand.
and shoots her, and we get the opening credits. And
That's how this episode starts.
and then so we've had flashback openings for Stan before, I think, and so it's
Like
not
a lot of the episodes have flashback openings.
So it's not, if you were to watching this straight, it's not like you would know it's a time loop episode. You wouldn't know it like right away. Also, like the IMDb summary is just a mysterious girl runs out into the street, forcing Evie to swerve into a fatal car accident, which
It's like the first scene.
which is like it is like the first scene. So there's nothing cluing you off to the Groundhog's Day episode of it all yet. So I do appreciate the little kind of psych out there. We cut back after the credits. We cut back into the main show. It's how did it say have a timeline of like how of this many hours
I
earlier?
think it just says previously or something similar.
So it shows Evie getting a flat tire, and her instinct is to first call Deputy Drinkwater, which
Why would that be your first instinct?
I don't know. I gotta say that maybe she's just stressed out or something, but this was a wrong move on her part.
Then again, I mean, who else is she gonna call? It's either Drinkwater
No,
or
but
Stan. That's pretty much it.
I keep having to remind myself that Stan doesn't technically work there, and that like unless it drags in his wife or something, or his dead wife or something, like I guess that's why you don't really call him. Because I had the same moment, especially the second loop when she calls Drinkwater, and I was like, stop fucking calling Drinkwater.
Yes.
Like, how is this your gut instinct in every timeline to call him? But then I guess technically Stan doesn't really work there, and even when he does, he's probably just going to go, no.
So, I mean, we're going to bring back most vile person for this episode.
Drinkwater clinches it pretty
So,
fucking fast.
MVP.
Say, are we still doing that? Because he clinched it on like every one of them I was involved in earlier.
No, you see, Les, he actually wasn't in the previous episode. He wasn't in episode 7, so he didn't win that one by default. Plus,
So you do have to be present to win.
Yeah.
That's an important factor in the most vile person.
also Hitler was in one of the episodes, so we slotted that one in, and we gave Drinkwater a pass on that one.
Because default.
So, so he has not won every time, but I feel like it feels like Drinkwater actually knows that we're giving out most vile person at this point, because he comes out swinging in this episode. Oh my
It's
goodness!
super creepy, and like it takes some of the timeline loops to really realize like how, like, what really bothered me about Drinkwater being creepy in this episode is that it's an accumulation of a season, and so when you figure out that he's completely stalking an ex, who I'm not entirely certain the man dated. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's,
who
it's
knows?
not
Like,
even an ex. It's literally someone who he
Just-
knew in high school that he's been
yes,
stalking.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Not entirely certain this woman even knows him. He's just nuts and is stalking her, and it's not even shocking. It's like, oh, drink water.
yeah.
Like honestly, like I'm amazed he's not like also raping a small animal or something. Like
Ugh.
like when it was revealed of like, oh, you're just stalking a woman. That's probably just a Tuesday for Drinkwater.
I mean, Evie didn't even really react to it other than to tell him, look, this is weird, don't do that. Like, that was about the extent of her reaction.
Well, let's
Drinkwater seems like the guy most likely to like order a mail order Russian bride, forget he did it, and
Ugh.
her die in a storage unit somewhere.
Yeah, I forgot about that whole thing. That was
Like him, I could see Drinkwater sitting like bolt upright, like mid-July, and going, "Fuck,
shit. I totally forgot about that. And
Vada
he's-
Snagda, where is she?"
Oh boy, but yeah,
And then she would get there and use her anyway.
we should really give some context before we talk about Drinkwater's necrophilia. So
I mean, the rest of the season is context.
we see him with the binoculars out. He's stalking the girl. That's what he's doing when Evie calls. We don't see a bottle of Gherkins or some sort of lotion or him squirt that into it. But I can only assume it's off screen. So it's real bad.
Well, also what he mentions next about the whole fact
Oh
that
boy. So yeah, let's get to this line.
Oh, so it's 3 kids now. That's your move. The dance continues.
Woo boy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like, I can imagine this starting with, like, so it's a steady boyfriend, eh? That, like, you know, like 10 or 15 years ago, like him watching her in college, like, so made a friend, eh? The dance continues. Yep.
So it really feels like we're one step away from some sort of Mercy type kidnapping situation here. Or it's not a good look. I'll tell you what, the mustache does not help.
No.
Like this would be creepy with anyone, but Drinkwater with that mustache, like this actor, I'm pretty sure he must either keep that mustache only for shooting or because I cannot imagine him keeping that mustache in real life. Like it's just, It is the most classic of like pedo sex offender mustaches.
it's a porn stash.
So you know what? Since Drinkwater only comes back in a little bit later, I'm cool with not thinking about this or anything else Drinkwater related the rest of this episode. I'm cool with that if everyone's agrees to it, because I'm pretty sure I don't want to think about anything about this side story anymore.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Let's go on to the next thing. So Evie finally calls Stan, which is probably should have been her first go, but you know what? Well, since Les was saying like Stan doesn't technically work there and everything, she explains that she has a flat tire and that she doesn't seem to have a spare, which is weird because you think a police cruiser would have a spare. Stan tells her like, "Oh, of course I never kept a spare in there. I don't believe in spares.
They're a sign of weakness.
They're a sign of weakness."
That's just planning for failure, man.
And it just took me a second to think about that for a second. I was like, what? What does that even mean? Like, do you mean like through sheer force of will? Do you mean your tires like never get popped? Like,
I just think for Stan, it's more like needing backup is a sign of weakness.
But wouldn't that make you less self-reliant? Because once something does happen to your tires, you're dependent on a tow truck.
No, Nick, don't be
Only
such a
if you-
pansy-ass bitch and just walk away. Just walk away.
Pick the car up, squint your eyes hard, and carry that motherfucker home. Yeah,
Right.
like you can't grit your teeth hard enough and just drive on a flat. Man up. Like I could just see him just grudgingly like, no, I'm not fixing it. I could see Stan getting out of the car and yelling at the tire for failing, and then making it drive flat to teach it a lesson.
Oh boy. So he's
I actually love even before this when Evie calls him. So, hey, Stan. It's just like, no. What? Don't do that thing with your voice.
Don't do that thing with your voice. What thing with your voice? Like that. I want to ask you. I want to ask you a favor voice, which is funny because I do believe we all do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Like when we need to ask.
You don't mean to, but you break into a higher register. Most people do.
Hey, Les, buddy.
So-
Man, we really lost your audio. Could you re-record that episode with
She
us?
doesn't quite go like full Lundberg, but it's pretty like, so gonna need you to work a Saturday. Yeah.
So yeah. That's great. That makes me think of Stan just going to town on a fax machine, and it feels right. Actually, John C. McGinley was in Office Space.
Yes.
I totally forgot about that. Oh man,
Hey,
he's that great.
One of the Bobs.
Yeah, he's one of the Bobs. Oh man, that's fantastic. But yeah, also Stan is watching a nature program, which is great because it's called Rattlers: Nature's Death Machine. And I believe the narrator says something to the effect of, "Since the dawn of time, man has wondered, what if my penis lived alone in the woods and it was poisonous.
Yes.
Which is just a great like line of like what?
And
then
such a quick line too. He said so quiet. You also had to think for a second, like, I heard that right. Correct?
and then Stan goes, "Amen, brother." Like this is. It feels like there's programming just for Stan now at this point. Like this is such a Stan program.
Like, I remember when Animals Attack videos first came out, like in the mid 90s, like actually on videotape, where like you'd call an 800 number and get like just a videotape of people getting the shit beat out of them by deer just mailed to you. And like, I remember the first time I ever saw that ad and was like, that can't be real. It's like they took a bad idea straight out of our minds and put it on tape. Like, who is so much older than me at this moment that they would be in charge of such things and still had that idea?
Probably white people.
Who is in?
And that's exactly what I can.
Who's in charge now that is listening to their stoned nephew? That's like the only thing of like, man, you know it's great, man. It's when people get attacked by animals.
I definitely feel like there were years of television at MTV when like Syphil and Ollie was on, and Squirt TV, and like they gave Andy Milonakis a show where every adult in charge had to have been in a bathroom stall doing coke or something with like two interns going, "Fuck it, man, put the sock puppets on." And that was at least 1 year of MTV somewhere in like late 90s.
Well, there was like the whole scare tactics show, and like there's this whole period of like the 90s were kind of a dark time of just like reality TV was getting set in. Everyone was getting a show. Didn't even Jamie Kennedy have like his own punk show at some point?
Oh yeah, for a long time.
It was
the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. Yeah. And see, what I think happened is like he just took a shitload of bad ideas and shotgunned them at the wall, and then like 15 years later, we're kind of like with the 2020 sobriety hindsight, gonna go, what should we remake out of this?
Yeah, so the problem with this is that when they shotgun against the wall, they didn't say, "Oh, we'll take what sticks." They said like, "We'll take whatever fell on the floor."
I'm just saying that everybody complaining about remakes should black out more.
Yeah.
If you just don't remember whole sections of time, then it's all new.
Yeah.
That is a way of putting it. Yes.
But no, we're now in the true golden age of television with penis in the wood snakes. So I feel like we're good.
You know what's
Amen,
Denise
brother.
doing right now?
Oh, Denise. Well, Denise Travis is trying to start up her own business. You know, entrepreneurial as she is. And she's a
go-getter,
self-sufficient, strong, independent woman. And so she's going to start her own teeth cleaning service. To which
Don't you need some kind of advanced degree for that?
Yeah, you do if you want to be a dentist. But I'm just gonna brush people's teeth really hard.
And I love that Stan is just like, okay, so I have two options now. Either I go change this tire with Evie, or I stay here and deal with whatever Denise is doing. And you know what? I feel like Evie's my go-to on this one. I'm not even going to dip into the whole, Denise thing today.
I mean, he kind of does, because he has a little existential crisis about it.
Yep, but just a second, I love that even in the time loops with him not really remembering it, it's like he kind of gut remembers enough to like have less and less patience for this shit every time.
I know. It's like I do like they show that later that Stan sort of remembers the time loops. He doesn't quite, but kind of like what's that movie? Memento, where like he doesn't remember anything, but he has like this physical like muscle memory type thing of where he gets a sense of stuff. So now it's making me think of Stan with a bunch of tattoos on his body of just like kill the witches.
Trust you. Yeah.
Don't trust her has a tattoo of Evie.
Don't let Denise make white power or something.
Right.
What the fuck is that
God,
one?
they spend a whole episode with this tattoo of like, why do I have white power tattooed on my arm? Like, that's not okay. That's not okay at all.
Especially if he gets wiped out after a while, it just has white power and he thinks he's a skinhead. Oh my god, I want this.
Find out he didn't finish the tattoo. If the guy run like, you shouldn't leave it like that. Okay.
Oh boy. So and then he has this little bit of existential crisis where he has this dialogue about like,
oh no, think nothing of it. There's no rush when you're helping a friend. In fact, I may very well be out of the house all day. There are some times when I just want to get in the car and drive and drive and drive until everything I've done in my life is rendered
meaningless. And when I do step out of the vehicle,
I'm a new man. Do you ever feel that way?
And, you know, because it's Stand Against Evil, you think, like, this is leading up to some sort of punchline by the end of it. But it doesn't really.
No.
It just kind of trails off.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit sad. Like,
It's kind of classic Stan. Like, that's a little too real for the moment. Like,
Right.
yeah. I was like, do you ever feel like that? And Evie doesn't really know how to respond. So
She kind of sits there.
She kind of nods into the phone, forgetting it's a phone for a minute.
can you just come and help me? Yeah.
Like, it just,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to say to you right now. I need your help, so I guess I'm not gonna discredit you, but I don't know what to say.
But I don't really want to go down this path.
Like it just feels like this is kind of like a you thing that you're going through right now. So they do end up hooking up and getting the car fixed and going down the road. So I feel like they are talking about something. I don't remember exactly what, but they don't quite see a woman come out into the road, and they just nail her. They just run her right down.
What the hell?
Okay.
And as soon as that happens, Evie wakes back up in the car, which she was driving before. Like, it's just like a moment or two before her tire goes flat.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of like, the fuck? And at this point, everyone in the audience
calls Nate Mooney again. She
yeah.
calls Drinkwater. And what is Drinkwater doing again, Nick? Let's discuss this whole thing.
No,
Let's do this again.
I would rather not. Like, he's still doing the creepy shit. Like,
No, we can skip ahead.
so we confirm with Drinkwater that this is in fact the same timeline. So this is at the point where everyone in the audience goes like, "Oh shit,
Oh,
Groundhog's Day
Day.
episode."
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't
Nuts.
For those
It's
of you,
cold every morning.
so for those of you who have watched, I don't know, any TV show ever,
A series, yeah.
or any
Yes.
genre show, it seems very popular. Any sci-fi or horror genre show, there is always a Groundhog's Day episode.
And I think I love every single one of them.
There's an echelon of episodes that always show up. There's the body switch episode,
The bottle
the-
episode.
the bottle episode. There's
There'll
the
always be a Rashomon episode where you get the whole episode from two perspectives.
yep. There's It's a Wonderful Life episode where we see what life would be like without one of the main characters or something. And then there's the Groundhog's Day episode in which we have to go through the same time loop over and over again.
Yeah,
It's
I follow a bunch of TV writers on Twitter, and somebody I don't know a few months ago put up like a call out to their other writer friends of, hey, if you write on a television show, you get 1 point for each of these things. Tell us your score. And it was like, if you've ever written a Rashomon episode, if you've ever written a bottle episode, if you've ever written a clip show, if you've ever written and like it listed all of them, and there were like 3 I hadn't thought of, but yeah, of course, Groundhog's Day was on there. People were chiming in of like, my show had a puppet episode because they'd written on Angel, and
Yes.
you know, like just a bunch of different shit of like, what if your show combined 3 of those in an episode?
oh my god, a puppet
but yeah,
body
it was-
switch Rashomon
It was
episode.
amazing to realize like just how widespread these trope episodes are, like these structure tropes are.
No, a puppet amnesia Groundhog's Day episode.
There you go.
They're just, and I know why they do them, because we as an audience almost get immediately what the structure and the plot line of the episode
Yeah.
is just from seeing it.
No explanation needed.
None of us need to have a Groundhog's Day scenario explained to us like almost at all anymore. Or
it's almost like zombies or vampires or whatever. Like it's almost annoying. Like if you go back and watch something like the original Fright Night from the 80s, they have to explain to everybody over 30 in the movie what a vampire is.
Right.
And that garlic hurts them and everything. And like same with zombies now. Like we're past that. I won't put up with 15 or 20 minutes of that shit in a movie.
Well, that's-
like they're undead. We don't need to explain this. And
That's
and
what
the
kills
same
me
with
about that's what kills me about shows like Charmed, or which I hope the reboot doesn't do, is just that like every time we run into a mythical creature, they have to explain what it is, and it's like we know what a goddamn mermaid is. Like it's just
they expressly had to do that. So Middleman was born almost expressly out of the frustration of the fact that they had to explain everything on Charmed every time. And Javier Creel Marx Watch got so tired of like, what do you mean you don't think our audience knows what a vampire is? Okay. And like you had to make sure to explain that shit in the plot. He was like, so Middleman became this show where no one ever had to explain anything because the whole world is that caught up on all genre. And but yeah, Charm specifically, they really do go back and watch those episodes and like they'll explain every facet of monster. It's like if the Winchester brothers every single time went, wow, it's a monster with fangs this time. What are you, buddy?
I love that too. And like you have to accept that in shows like The Walking Dead that they live in a universe that doesn't have zombies. Like that like the universe where zombie media has never taken hold at all, which is like, you ever like thought that through? Like, what do they like? Especially if they make movie references, which is like, wait a minute. So how are certain movies even around if, like, say, Dawn of the Dead and like Romero didn't even make it on the scene? Like, you pull at that thread. You know what? I'm not going to get into this whole thing.
like did you guys just mention a Stephen King book? Because this brings up questions. How the fuck do you not know what these are?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you kind of have to roll with. So this is interesting in the fact that it's the only episode, or it's the only show that I think does a Groundhog's Day episode for its finale.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it really surprised me it was the finale.
Which is really cool. And I kind of like it because it really brings out about a cool endpoint that we'll talk about later.
Towards the end.
And I mean, I really end up digging the whole way they actually do the Groundhog's Day thing too, because they don't just straight up show the same events every time. They'll actually show little bits and pieces of stuff that we didn't see in the previous time loops.
And it also helps because, like we explained before, Stan seems to act a little differently in each one. Like, they don't have him keep doing the same scene, because even if we see the same scene over and over again, he doesn't act quite the same in every single one.
Which I thought was just a thing to keep us more visually interested in the story.
And not to keep it drag on.
But then later, it comes back into the fact that, oh no, he actually has kind of a memento sense of stuff.
Yeah, it's like this residual tie from having been the protected sheriff in that role or something like that. But yeah, you start to realize that this really is accruing for him unconsciously. He knows something's wrong.
And we make it back into the previous point of the time loop, and we learn that the woman doesn't get run over this time. I love that Stan calls us like, oh, come on, what are you doing screwing around with Wendy from Peter Pan? And I looked at her and I'm like, ah, shit, she does look like
not wrong.
Like, look at her big eyes. Like, she almost looks like a Disney character. Like, it was really like funny for me that like Stan makes this just on the nose kind of like because normally his insults are very like off base of like nerd or something. Like, this is such a specific on point reference. But too bad, because it turns out Wendy is a little murderer. Because
she's got a little hidden. It's not even that hidden. She's got a big fucking knife in her hand.
Yeah.
And slices slices Evie right across the throat, and it's like, oh shit!
Just tell me your name.
And we wake up back into the car, and it's like, god damn it!
Do this all over again.
So we come back.
It actually makes like the opening scene make a lot more sense when she decides to let's just kill the bitch.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, also we get a little bit more with Denise this time loop around, in which she is now asking people on the phone of like whether or not they would be interested in her new business, which is called White Power Tooth Cleaning. Oh boy.
I don't.
And it's like, oh no, it's White Power Tooth Cleaning, not White Power Tooth Cleaning. Yes, it is a horrible name.
I just love the fact that she recognizes it for what it is.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that she's completely oblivious. She just needs someone to tell her it, or basically to hear it out loud. And then she's like, "Oh, yeah, damn it, that doesn't sound great." Meanwhile, Evie and Stan end up in the woods. I feel like they are chasing what's her name? Like, I feel like we learn her name later, or do
we do learn it later?
We do learn it later.
Yeah.
Okay,
but it's like one of the last.
At this
couple
point,
scenes.
She's still unknown. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just called Wendy at this time.
Right. Well, we'll just call her
Wendy a couple times.
Yeah.
So we follow. Yeah, we'll follow Wendy into the woods, and
Second star to the left and straight on till morning.
Straight on until morning. Well, I would think of this one, it would be second severed head to the right, and,
Right.
and straight on until you hit a Schlitz beer.
And random zombie weapon.
Honestly, the woods scene gives me my favorite Stan moment of this whole episode, and one of my favorites for the whole season. His weird finding
Obsession.
of the Schlitz cans is amazing. They're walking through the woods, and he finds a smashed old beer can, like you do, and he's like, "Oh, this is Schlitz beer. This is a classic. They don't make this anymore. It's like a museum piece." And then he looks at you like, "Oh, I'm drinking butter today."
And it's so hard to tell
like-
if he's joking or not.
Man, we're
Yeah,
swimming
no,
in it now.
I think that's a good day for, like, you're so rich, you're just drinking butter. Like, that is such a weird, that seems like a Depression era positive. Like,
Oh boy.
and he picks up like 2 other Schlitz cans, and then one of them he's like, "Oh, this is the mother load. This is what I was looking for. It's got bees in it, of course."
You know what you do with
Bees are
bees.
naturally drawn to Schlitz. They naturally prefer Schlitz.
You,
Of course
And
they
then,
are.
yeah.
you know bees fucking lushes as they are.
And then he just immediately like has a whole plan. Like, I love him just narrating his weird, like, "Oh, I found some Schlitz. Oh, there's bees in it. Well, bees do love Schlitz. And you know what you do? You got beer bees. You got to stop the can flat."
I want to see a nature documentary narrated by Stan, him giving random attributes to animals.
Oh God, yes.
Because we
Yes.
now know that owls do not abide puzzles.
True.
Bees love Schlitz.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Bees love Schlitz.
Bees
We
love
can-
Schlitz. Owls hate puzzles. Oh,
Snakes are
too
penises in the woods. Like there's a whole bunch we can learn from this.
Yes.
I'm sure there's even more we're forgetting.
So I absolutely love this, but anyway, what's the next thing here? Oh, that's right. I forget, because he's about to compress the can. He's like, we actually see him right about to step on it, and then Evie gets decapitated.
Yep.
Just like,
Yep.
holy shit. Like, it is out
Crazy
of
fast
nowhere.
moving, head slicing wood witch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to see, like, we've seen brutal deaths like this before. It's always kind of more comical, I think, because of the amount of blood. It's just weird seeing it from the main fucking character.
A lot of neck deaths this
Yeah.
time around too. A lot of decapitations and neck slicings and a lot of stuff like that. I like that we don't see the head fall or anything, or for either Stan or Evie when they get decapitated
It's
in this
just
episode.
gone.
Which it's fun because it's like, oh, we didn't, it's so quick we didn't even get to see it, but also that means that at one point the actors didn't have to look at a severed head of themselves. And I always
Right.
kind of like that idea of like, man, wouldn't that be a surreal moment of like, oh, here's the prop department, they made a severed head of you, and it's like, ugh.
I'd ask to keep it.
I would hope they would let people keep their own severed heads.
Oh yeah, no. So screw displaying your Oscar or whatever on the mantle. Like, if you want to have a bunch of people over at a Hollywood party and like be known, I want to see like the decapitate. Yeah, like, you know, when you were in like a Thing ripoff or something, and they had to make a model of you half alien. Like, fuck yeah, I want that around the house.
Well, I know if I'm Sean Bean, I'm keeping every weapon that ever killed me.
He would have to
Shit,
get
you
like
think Sean
several
Bean has a room?
storage units for that.
Oh,
I bet you
I
Sean
bet
Bean
that's
has a
great.
whole weapons room of stuff that has killed him. Like, here's that big ass sword that killed me, that beheaded me in Game of Thrones. Here's the laser weapon or whatever that killed me in Jupiter Ascent. Oh wait, he didn't die in
He
Jupiter
didn't
Ascending.
die in that one, which
Yeah, that
is
was-
fucking weird.
Fuck that movie.
No, that
Can't even-
movie's amazing.
Can't
Shut
even
up.
kill Sean
yeah,
Bean
shut
right.
up. I love that movie.
That movie's amazing for all the wrong reasons. I love dogs.
So, anyway, I really did like the next part here, because we not only did we get the Schlitz beer thing, but I think the next time loop has the
Like, look here thing.
I'm sorry, what was it?
They have
Yeah.
the sign saying, like, look here type of thing with the
duck,
arrow pointing
basically.
down.
Like it's like this look down thing or don't move, which I guess is just somebody trolling with them.
Yeah.
Of just like
It's like, I looked at that and was like, is Bugs Bunny the killer? Like, what is this?
I see you're looking for me. really like a Stan's decapitation here because Evie just has to process it for a minute of like, oh shit, and then the time loop does not reset. So Stan isn't even part of the time loop in this episode.
No, he's not important enough.
Yeah, this is all about Evie. Yeah.
So I really like this because it forwards my theory of Evie actually secretly being the main character, and Stan just having the title of the episode because his name works better into the pun. Because it's all about Evie this episode, and Stan is actually just an ancillary kind of sidekick that's following her around.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, that Schlitz back up there. Anyway, we have the kill of Stan follows with some redneck exposition. You all know the redneck exposition, where some random redneck character comes along with all the answers.
No one expects the redneck.
Yeah, and I love that we don't even...
You found my witch whopping stick. Yeah, basically.
I hate to have to part with it, but I think you needed it. And I was like...
Yeah, it's this total non-player character that just, like, you got to get through a bunch of screens of dialogue.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so standard at this point that we don't even think about it. And I really did just accept that, yep, there's just this random dude in the woods.
Well, especially this place, like...
Yeah, I didn't even think about it up until later when I had to think about, like, because I did, when I first watched this, I had the sneaking suspicion, like, man, why do I recognize that actor? Like, but I get that in these shows all the time.
Yeah, because often that's the giveaway. Like, any Law & Order episode, like... if you're 20 minutes in, suddenly you recognize someone, they fucking did it.
Yep, they're the killer.
But for episodes like this, for shows like this, it's always be like, man, I know you, but how do I know you? Do I know you because you've been in like 2 episodes of every genre show I've ever watched? Mm-hmm. But like in the background, like
you may just be the funniest comedian friend of the writers of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to know you in 5 years. Yeah. But like right now, I just vaguely recognize you from an insurance ad.
Yeah. So I do love that we do cut back to Denise trying to workshop some other names here for her business.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be rude, ma'am. Like,
because like the lady she's talking to actually tells her to like fuck off.
Yeah.
I mean, they are all better than white power, I guess, but they're not all they're all still pretty bad. Like they're not great.
I just love that this like crazy like redneck expositor just like tells Evie that there's a bunch of graves buried and you know about this, but there's one that's supposed to be there, and you should go dig up Eccles and get his eyeballs.
Yeah.
And Evie's just like, okay.
Well, I mean, it's not the weirdest thing we've done in this show. So
I mean, it's up there.
Well, I mean, it is very specific. I think they give a reason, like his eyes have seen his own death or something.
Well, I think it was if you get the eyes back, it'll see his like afterlife type of thing where he'll pass on or something to that effect.
Yeah, some sort of poetic kind of line of dialogue they use for the whole eye thing. And yeah, so basically she knows what to do now, except that like, well, yeah, but Stan is like dead, so how do I reset the time loop? And he's kind of like, well, I mean, there's only really one way.
To save him, you're gonna have to go back to the beginning.
How?
I don't know. I mean, you could kill yourself.
Great.
Oh, don't worry, gal. You in luck.
Damn it.
Like, I feel like he almost could have just like given her a long stare of like, come on.
Like, figure it out.
Together. Like, you know damn well how you reset a time loop. Come on.
I mean, you watched a show before, right? Like,
right? You've seen television though, right? Okay. You have to eat a bullet. I'm sorry, something.
Yeah, and then she gets, of course, like, you know what? Don't worry. You don't have to kill yourself because obviously you have to deal with that on a psychological level. Here, let me. We'll get a demon to come save you for a second, and then just gets beheaded all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's just lucky and caught a butt. Like, well, you're in luck. The 805 beheading will be on in a minute. Like,
and if you step slightly to your left, the 805 decapitation will begin shortly. Please keep your hands, but not heads, inside the vehicle at all times.
Ding.
So, of course, we need to go to the graveyard, and so Stan needs to go and pick up the head before he comes to pick up Evie. And who do we meet there? But our favorite socially awkward groundskeeper, Kevin. Oh my goodness, Kevin.
Hey, you want to see a dead body?
Kevin, I have missed you, and I do want to see a dead body, Kevin, as long as it's you showing it to me.
In fairness, even when you think you're missing Kevin, Kevin is all the hell over this show. Because Kevin is Dana Gould.
Yeah, and I do like that. I'm pretty sure Dana Gould was also, I think he was a stand-up comic at one point, too.
Oh, yeah. No, I just saw him at Moon Tower.
Oh, did you?
Comedy Fest. Yeah, he did
cool.
a set with, there was a big bunch of comics in a row. Janine Garofalo and Dana Gould was on, and a bunch of other people.
That's
but
great.
yeah, no, he's a very cantankerous old man set of comedy. It was pretty great.
Shocking.
I know.
I can't see how he would have gotten inspiration for that. But he has it explains why he has some good screen presence here. Like he has the timing and the line delivery down. You can tell that this isn't just a writer throwing himself into a movie, kind of like how Tarantino always throws himself in.
That Hitchcock walk on, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, that's cute and everything, but you can kind of tell yeah, but you're not acting like an actual performer. And it's like,
well, for this one he'd almost have to, considering that Kevin is a recurring character at this point.
Yeah. But it's such a good blank fade into the background recurring character that Gould just does a lot with, because he can't. I can see how you could run the show and make a little bit of time to be Kevin, where you might not be able to be Drinkwater,
right?
Or or somebody else in the show. Like,
someone
I don't think
important.
Dana Gould could be Stan.
Yeah, and I just really like his, he's also a little creepy at some points, but he comes off as kind of lovable and just a weird, little outcast kind of thing.
Like a little bit more weird, he'd probably be murdering, small animals, but he's just the right amount of weird.
Well, and I like his excitement whenever it seems like Stan or somebody is asking him about, because he actually is incredibly knowledgeable, and like when Stan asks about so there's 172 witches that are killed, but there's 173 graves, and so there's this town bit of lore of who is this extra grave, and so I love his excitement of about that? Oh wow, I'm interested in the town lore as well as the town gravedigger, and Kevin proceeds to nerd out, and Stan proceeds to not give a fuck.
Yeah, it's actually,
and then stands there and makes him it's not even like Tom Sawyer. It's not like he wheedles him into whitewashing this fence. He just kind of has him dig the grave and then cuts him off. What do you mean we? I did all the.
Don't be conceited, Kevin. It's not a good look on you.
Do you see what happens when we work together?
Yes.
You see what happens when we work together?
You didn't. I did all the digging.
Now, don't be conceited, Kevo. It's not flattering. Well, see if you can hump that thing up. I'm gonna go find a place to throw this up. I'm all about the environment.
I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm all about the environment. I'm gonna go find some place to throw away this apple core.
I'm all about this apple. I'm all about the environment.
I stood there and ate while you dug this grave.
Stan is a terrible person.
Yes, he's just terrible.
All right, great teamwork, Kevin. We got the whole body up now. I just need you to do me one more favor. Pinch out those eyeballs for me, buddy.
There's another time in the if it's in this episode or if it's another time where Kevin just gets shut down of where he says something under his breath of sure, just ignore the person that speaks the language you need translated and knows everything about the thing. Fucking fine.
It's actually in the next episode of season 2.
It's the start of season 2.
You're jumping ahead.
I know what moment you're talking about.
Loops.
I know what moment you're talking about, and it is funny. Where Kevin gets a little bit
what
more
year
of
is it?
Personality.
Well, even in this one, it's obvious that he's actually had it up to here with Stan, because the next scene is not Stan with the eyeballs, it's Stan with the whole fucking head.
Yes, why don't you just reach in there and pluck those out for me? No.
I'm not getting that.
And I love that next scene too, because Evie looks like...
Did you get the eyes?
Yeah, I went ahead and brought you the whole head. I bet you want to take the eyes out yourself.
Gee, thanks.
Now I'm the asshole?
Yeah, you are.
I think Stan's holding it outside the car as he drives anyway.
Yeah.
He's got a bag, like it in a grocery bag.
And now they're arguing in the car a little bit, and at this point we get to the scene from the opening in which they actually crash the car because they, Stan and Evie were arguing about something.
I always knew Stan's orneriness would get him or someone else killed at some point. I knew it.
Yeah, and so
in a show that I give a lot of crap to about like lack of blood, this car accident, her blood, like the injuries that Evie has after this car wreck, they genuinely looks like this hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I was really amazed of like how many bloodless CG poops of dead demons, and like this car wreck looks like it fucks her up.
Yeah, she got like gravel and like just gravel into gashes, and it doesn't look pleasant.
There's like
I had a moment of like, I think you might oversold this. Can she complete the episode? She looks hurt.
Mm-hmm.
like there's like a whole head wound thing of just gut like that's been gushing blood or whatever.
So knowing you're in a time loop, I think I'd have killed myself right then when I realized, like, do you ever do that in a video game of like, I've lost a little bit of health. Maybe I can still beat the level boss, but I think I'm still going to reboot this just to make sure I come back 100%. Like,
Well,
I think as soon as I got out and my knee was a little twingy, I'd be like, time loop. I'm going to eat a bullet.
Well, I mean, we even see that in previous time loops with Evie, where she starts treating this like a video game. Where she's just like, "Oh my god, this fucking again! I can't believe he got me! God damn it!"
Like, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you go with what works, and I'm just surprised she didn't do the Grand Theft Auto thing where like she just goes and try to see how long she can go before the cops get her.
She is the cops.
I assume that's the only reason why she didn't do it.
And you know where Drinkwater is, so.
And I feel like, that whole car crash scene, it's very fast. Like, the amount of time to shoot in it was probably not very long, which is probably why they could afford to go extra on the makeup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is that they just didn't have to keep it consistent because it's going to reset in about a minute. So it's like, oh, well, we can just go crazy because we don't have to worry about continuity or anything like that. So we can go all out with this makeup of just, like, this fucked up kind of car wreck. And so, yeah, we have to go all the way back through, and we see a couple of other cute scenes that we didn't see before, like
like Denise calling the KKK.
Oh, hello. Yes. Is this the office of the Clue Clocks? Oh my God, never mind. Sorry.
KK. Oh, no. Oh, that's bad.
Oh, no. Yeah, right. I forgot about that. I was like, oh, shit. We see the where Kevin gets the head for him and won't get out the eyeball from before. It's like, okay, now bring that to the car to me. And it's just like a couple funny really quick jokes that give us a little more context in what's going on in these time loops. We finally get all the way back, and Evie has the head at this point. She knocks out the witch. Her game is perfect. Like she's gonna hit, like she hits the Control S, just like save, perfect.
Screenshot that shit.
And so we finally get to the house, and it's what's his name? Redneck exposition guy is there. He's like, hey, did you bring the eyes? Well, I brought the head, and it comes with eyes. I love that. Like she treats it like some sort of Happy Meal or something. It's like,
right?
This
is even better. Look, you have all the eye popping fun yourself.
This is the body part combo meal,
right? That's kind of how Stan even sells it to her. Of like, oh, I thought I'd let you have that fun.
So here we got to get to probably the only part of the episode in which I'm not totally in love with.
Yeah.
And by that, I don't mean that as sarcastically. I'm actually in love with most of this episode.
No, this episode's great.
I really like it. But there's this moment here where Evie walks into the door frame, and then as soon as she gets like 2 steps into the door frame, she gets knocked out from behind, and we wake up with her captured. And it's not like, I mean, if this was the first time that happened, I wouldn't even have mentioned it. Like that would have been
but it's a running joke in the series.
Yeah, Evie is like captured nearly constantly.
It kind of the thing of realizing that, like you said earlier, this kind of we're realizing that the show is secretly centered entirely around Evie and should not be called Stan. That she is the focus of this. She's what the magic is about. She's what the demons want. Stan had the job previously, but no longer works here. But the show kind of turns it into a running gag that she's constantly sidelined, and that joke gets old.
Well, it's weird because she does get sidelined, but she's always like the main. It's never like Stan ever steps up, at least in season 1.
No, he actively steps down a lot.
Yeah, he's always still the sidekick, but he saves her, or she gets captured so much, and so much of the joke seems to be that like her being incredibly competent but still losing agency, or not being like she still gets jammed. She just gets knocked out a lot and wakes up tied up to shit, and then gets like Stan's like 40 years never tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Which the only reason that Stan waited 40 years without being tied up is because his wife was protecting him.
Right.
Like I wish the show would either stop having her get knocked out and captured, or have somebody slap him down more often with like, shut the fuck up, your wife is the only reason you weren't dead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I also wouldn't mind it if she was just getting captured in different ways. But this is like
But it's always knocked out from behind and tied up. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one is even like, and it's always from a certain door frame or as soon as she walks into a place, and always trusting a person that probably should not be trusted.
Right, just people that randomly appear, like the Doomsday Prophet, and
yes, I loved him. But yes, how did you go to his house? Like, no warning flags went up. What kind of cop are you?
And it's. I mean, I get as the audience, we don't really have like that much agency in how if we trust this guy or not, and I guess she is stuck in the time loop. But it is suspicious that this guy comes up with all the information that she needs immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and she kind of, I did enjoy that they hand wave it away by having her acknowledge that this fucking place, like when he breaks down all the info and then says the eye thing, and she's like, yeah, you know what? Crazy dude in the woods with way too much info and eyeballs in the this all tracks.
Yeah,
this is right on track for this place.
And it turns out that our redneck friend is actually Constable Eccles. Dun dun dun. And he set up the time loop in order to actually not only bring Evie into the past, but switch her out with his daughter, Constance Eccles.
Hence Wendy. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and
Sophia Pavone.
So that she can't be used against him in his time. So they do some sort of time switcheroo via eyeballs.
Yeah,
which is interesting. So I like this too because it also brings about her like the very end cap of a season where Evie completely played into his hands and now is about to be burned at the stake. Like the stakes, pun not intended, are very high.
As Constable of Willard's Mill Township, I, Thaddeus Eccles, accuse you of the crime of witchcraft.
It's actually kind of like she has a very anguished face during this scene too.
Well, we even see we get cut to what used to be Eccles' gravestone, only now it says Barrett.
Yep.
So in the timeline, she's screwed.
She's dead.
And we see Stan kind of like in the moment out of his time loop, just sitting in the chair watching his Snake program again, and he grabs the phone. He gets this weird look on his face. And it's like, it's a great acting moment by John C. McGinley.
Ring, right?
Right, it doesn't ring at all.
Yeah, it doesn't ring.
He's answering out of like muscle memory, like you were saying.
Yeah, and he gets this distinct feeling like, I feel like something should be happening right now, but he can't put his finger on it.
Like his last line is, "There's something wrong."
Something right.
And this is almost all in John C. McGinley's face that he has to portray this. And it's a really cool acting moment because I absolutely get exactly what he's thinking just by looking at him. Of just like, there's something off and he doesn't know what it is, but we know what it is. And he's trying to it feels like he almost has it, but he can't quite see what like through the fog of his mind of like, I just feel like something is wrong.
Something McGinley does throughout the whole season that really makes Stan work for me, the character work for me, is this, for all of his bluster of I don't care and all this is stupid and blah, 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 that kernel of curiosity and needing to solve shit and needing, like, the thing that made him a good cop in the first place, John C. McGinley really manages to show me that underneath this veneer of like, nope, don't care. but secretly like he gets that duality across really well, and I feel like even here with his legs kicked up, where I know in my heart he's gonna go, something's wrong, and then still debate whether to do anything about it. For a few minutes at least. But you can, like you say, you can see it that it's stuck in his craw. It's gonna bother him. He's gonna have to figure this out.
Yeah, and we won't go into any spoilers for season 2, because if you guys are watching along and with this, because some people like to do that with their TV by show episodes or whatnot. So that's basically our end cap for this season. And when I first watched this, when I wasn't sure if there was going to be a season 2, I was kind of like, oh, come on.
It's a really kind of a dick move.
Yeah, it's a fucked up place to leave a show uncertain. Like like you said, when first watching it and not knowing if it was going to get picked up, because they pull the twist really quick when you realize that she's which is a beautiful writing move. I really enjoyed finding out that, like, oh, you done fucked up. Like, you handed the enemy exactly what they needed because you didn't know their plan. But yeah, I still was unprepared when we got to the gravestone that said, that was Evie's, where I was like, oh no, this is what y'all are doing. We're out of time. This is really where you're leaving it. Oh shit. And yeah, I then spent an agonizing bit of time going, please get a season 2.
When I was first watching this, I'm like, oh, it's a genre show on IFC and now it's got to compete with, because I think it was Ash vs. the Evil Dead had just come out at that point, and I was like, oh, this show's screwed, and I was all disappointed, and I'm like, and then suddenly I get the announcement for season 2, and I was like, no shit, and I got all excited. I'm like, oh my god, that's so great. So yeah, I mean, I really like this episode. It's probably, at first I would have said it's my favorite, but episode 7 is also really good. Like, it has some of the best lines in it, like the owls don't abide puzzles lines.
Yeah.
This one has some great lines in it too. So I'd say it's actually in competition. It's in stiff competition for my favorite episode from season 1. At least. I don't know, Les, does this rank as your favorite, or do you have another one that's...
I think this one might be my favorite just because of the time loop. Like, I just absolutely, like, Wallace and Gromit, like, oh! As soon as I realized, like, it was going to be the Groundhog's Day episode. That said, I still love the goat episode.
Yeah.
No, your goat is just awesome.
Yeah, it's great stuff. All the Jaws references. So yeah, I mean, now that we've gotten through episode 8, guys, maybe we should talk about just the first season as a whole. Now that we are wrapped up on it, before we go into season 2, I feel like season 1, it's a really fun season 1 of, like, this genre show. And at 22 minutes, I feel like it goes, like, on a brisk pace. We get a lot of exposition and story stuff near kind of the end point, but it does expand kind of the world by the end. They do a little bit more world building in season 2, but it's not like they don't do any in season 1. Sorry, what was that, Les?
I say overall, season 1, I did feel like that there were 5 to 10 other people living in the town total, and you meet them one at a time,
and then they die,
which is a little weird. It feels very small. The show overall it has a very light feel to it. Like, I mean, like you said, it's 22 minutes. They just kind of fly along. I kind of found myself, like, it feels like more of an old school sitcom, but it's a genre horror show. But like, the episodes just clip along, and I kept finding myself surprised at how much mythology there is. I somehow just didn't expect, like, the whole. I really love the witch backstory and all the stuff with it builds to a time loop. So how can I not love it? But the first season was just so not what I expected that I found it almost difficult to get into as a whole. I kept watching episodes and enjoying them, and then kind of forgetting about the show for a second. and then going back and like, oh shit, there's some Standing Against Evil to watch. I think it's because they're 22 minutes and they're very lighthearted, even though they're dealing with monsters and stuff. It came to I was more satisfied rewatching some of these, I think, than the first time I watched them through. Especially, I think, knowing I was happier with season 1 once I knew there would be a season 2, and now that I have a season 2, and there's about to be season 3. And so I am definitely happier with these episodes once they started building up mythology, but I was still knowing it was against Ash versus Evil Dead, and I had a feeling the show was doomed and just was not going to fucking survive.
Well, especially since
and
it's
so I
on
kept watching
IFC.
these going, yeah, and I was like, you guys are you're steady building mythology, and I don't think you're going to get a season 2. And then they ended like that. I was like, I don't know. I liked the show. I mean, I liked the show to start with. I've enjoyed every episode I've watched, but I've definitely come to like it more knowing that it will get to be more complete.
Yeah, it does help out too, like what you were saying, that season 2 gets a budget increase into the point that there are people in it, like in the background, and because that is one of the things. Like if there's 2 things of the first season that stick in my craw a little bit, is just like the fact that like it really feels like there's just this town. It doesn't feel very lived in. Like there's just doesn't seem like to be that many people around. And 2, it was just the Evie getting knocked out and captured a lot sort of trope thing that
yeah, if I sound disappointed at all with season 1, that's really my chief issue with it, is that they're consciously or not, and whether anybody means to be doing this or not, there feels like there's a misogynistic running joke to the show, and I wish they'd quit it. It's only because they seem to do it every episode.
Yeah.
Well,
and I wish they would. I mean, I don't think, maybe it's an innocuous joke, but it builds up over the season for me of like, please quit knocking Evie out.
I mean,
it's kind of like we have Drinkwater like winning our award every episode, and that's a joke. It's creepy and fucked up, but it is a joke. Evie being knocked out it's not something new every episode. It's the same thing every episode. Drinkwater is uniquely creepy in every episode.
Yeah, I get tired of every episode having a like nudge in my rib reminder that like Evie can't handle it, is what it feels like. And it starts to really bug me over the season. That honestly is my main gripe with the show, is because they've got Janet Varney and they don't they could swing the other direction and knock it out of the park. Like they could make the running gag her total badassery in almost every situation, like even if the running gag was Drinkwater walking off after Evie saves him bragging, and with everybody going, shut up, I would still, I'd rather see it, even just fucking once, like, because I don't know, it's that it's a running gag.
Well, I mean, we do get in season 2. They do a lot to rectify both those issues. They give Evie a lot more agency in some of the stuff she does, and we also get to see her kid more.
There's also a werepony. Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, there's a child involved in this somewhere.
Right. I mean, it's weird to watch this episode and kind of go like, fuck, that's right, she has a kid.
Which
and,
no longer exists then, maybe.
And it just so happens that, like, I know you don't want to use a child actor all the time, especially when you probably have to change child actors in between seasons.
Yeah.
And it's like it feels like it's this thing that isn't part of her backstory until it's convenient that it is part of her backstory. Because it's like a big thing in episode 1, and then we kind of like never mention it that much again. And then in season 2, we get it a little bit more, and it feels a little more like a genuine kind of relationship. There's just some things that I think that they get the chance to flesh out in season 2 that, for whatever reason, they didn't have the time or budget or just the resources to really cover in season 1. So
yeah, I mean, not only do they have a budget in season 2, like they're rolling in dough, like they bring the daughter back and they buy her a pony.
And they buy her a pony. God, I cannot wait to talk about that episode. But yeah, really am a big fan of this show, guys. I highly recommend you watch it on any place you can watch it. First season is all up on Hulu if you want to give goes the rewatch. Season 2, I believe, is pretty much only available on IFC's channel or on Amazon.
I think you can buy it on Amazon. I feel quite sure once season 3 drops, season 2 will shift.
Mm-hmm. So you can either wait for that, or if maybe you got a couple extra dollars. I think it's only like, what's it, maybe like $10 or something for the whole. It's been a while since
It can't be that pricey. I mean, you're talking about 8 22-minute episodes.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything too extravagant. But I would say definitely worth your time. I can't wait to talk about season 2. Some of the greater episodes in that we have. Were-ponies, infant baby demons, some great stuff to talk about.
The baby episode is Hex Marks the Tot.
Hex, more pun. We have more pun titles to talk about, guys.
I love it. It also gets into the Black Hat Society. I've dug what I've seen so far of season 2. I still need to finish it.
So and it's been an absolute blast talking about season 1. I can't wait to go into more of season 2 and some more of what Pot Against Evil has to show for you. Hopefully we can get some of those interviews that I was talking about a little bit before. Hopefully we can get those kind of started. I'm sorry, what's that?
Get some swag.
Swag. We got some swag for you. Hopefully we'll get that by the next episode as well and have you guys earn a little bit of Stand Against Evil swag. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for listening. And joining us for the podcast that does not abide puzzles, but does abide speculation. Now that we got to get out of here, let's workshop some other really bad names for companies.
Ooh.
Like something like a white power level. How about a whole camp in which it helps you with your focus and drive, some sort of concentration camp or something. Like it's
oh god, now I'm thinking of on 30 Rock when Tracy Jordan's got his adult son that's older than him, but he keeps coming up with companies like if there was a phone number that you could dial in from anywhere in the United States and call, and you could check the air quality outside right then, like a live check of the air quality levels right then. And there would be 800 numbers for this, and we would call them the American Airlines. And like he just has a series of companies that are all like I'm gonna make very tiny padded inserts to go into like the heels of your shoes. We're gonna call them Microsofts. And like it's like every company he starts to describe, and you can see like Jack Donaghy like no, don't call it that. Damn it.
Oh, boy. But, thank you so much, Les, for joining us. I am very glad that you came on and re-recorded this with us. It was awesome. You were a total gentleman for doing that for us, so that's great. Would you like to tell the people where they can find you and your content and your stuff?
Yes, I am on the tvdudes.com. Every week or every couple of weeks, doing TV reviews that come out every Friday and general TV discussion. And then Mondays and Wednesdays I do interviews, also at the tvdudes.com, and I'm working on the next season of The Good Die Young, which is my show about one-season shows. So Stand Against Evil no longer qualifies, but a bunch of other stuff that you forgot ever came on definitely does.
Or never knew.
Yes, exactly. There once was a show called that's pretty much all that.
That's great, and you guys should definitely give that a look. Is a great show, and Les is a great interviewer as well. If you want to check out,
we've got ATX Television Fest is coming up, and so I'm hoping to get some more interviews out of that. So
fuck yeah,
with any luck, June, July should be crazy.
Love it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back with season 2, episode 1, The Black Hat Society. I'm so excited. Oh no! What we got here? We've added another podcaster to this thing. The dance continues.